appreciate indicating something about this. It's 6 o'clock, I think, isn't it? So, you're fine. When I was in college, please. It was whatever. But today, you guys, I want to ask you a question. What do you think? What do you think keep people from realizing their dreams and living their dreams? What do you think the number one reason? The number one reason why people realize their dreams.
Go ahead. I think the number one reason is probably reality. Knowing that there's so many obstacles and maybe they're not ready to face them.
I was going to say lack of resources, not knowing, thinking they can achieve because they don't have the resources to do so, and just unprivileged, I guess.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
I would say
Feel free, guys. Go ahead, sir.
I would say the environment. Sometimes, in most cases,
Sure.
what your behavior as far as what you learn, what you know, and how far you will go if you open yourself up to mentors and people to see different things, if you would.
Okay. That's cool. That's cool. Anyone else? Go ahead.
I would say fear plays a big component also, like the not knowing, the unknown. Some people are like really scared of the unknown, so they really just don't seek out to exactly what they want to do in life.
Okay, my wife gave that answer. So. Okay. Anyone else?
I would say environment too. I would say the negativity. If you're around a bunch of people that's negative and they all do the same thing as far as not being positive, then sometimes that'll sometimes feed into what you want to do. So if you're around positive people that have their own business or that's doing things like positive things and have their own money, sometimes it rubs off on you and makes you motivated, makes you want to do the same thing.
Excellent. Excellent. Anyone else?
Just to piggyback off of what Nicola said, I think that's major too, as it relates to, I always say just I tell my kids, don't be the least wealthiest in your crew. I mean, basically, and wealthy, I don't mean monetary, I mean just like people who can get you to that next level. So if you're around people who are doing well, like you can't be the one that your crew is dragging down.
Sure.
So I definitely agree with you.
Those are all great.
And one of those, I'd like to also say family history and trends and your past family history and from the chain, not knowing, back to not knowing nobody else, being
Well, those are all great, you guys, and I can tell you thought about some things. There was one common theme across the board with those, you know what it is.
You said one thing?
One thing, one common theme that was consistent with all those great answers. One common theme. No. The answer is they were all wrong.
I wasn't expecting that.
Just playing. At least that's not my number one thing.
No.
All right, not my number one thing. So I can only speak from me. And one thing that I think is the number one thing. It deals with a very complex understanding and knowing and experience. Mother's Day, I think 1995 Mother's Day. I graduated from Coppin State University in Kent, Ohio. Again, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. And I went to Kent State to play football. I was gonna stand up, you guys. Sitting down is kind of boring. So, Coppin State University, played football, and graduated Mother's Day, 1995. That day, I really didn't think about graduating and graduation, because that next day, I had a workout with the Detroit Lions, and I had to drive up there right after graduation. So graduation didn't hold many cards or gifts or dinner after graduation, and everybody all together and laugh and all that good stuff. So we didn't do that because I had to leave. After graduation, I drove up to a gas station, and I ran into my high school basketball coach. And it didn't really dawn on me, like, why you there? I just was confused, like, what you doing here? And he said, came to see you graduate. So I was his first athlete to graduate from college. So he had to see me. And he said, you know, having a college degree is kind of like having a high school diploma nowadays. This is in 1995. So it's like having a high school diploma nowadays. You really think about going back to school and getting your master's degree. So, graduation day, right? Commencement just happened. I'm not thinking about no grad school or anything like that. I wasn't even thinking about graduation. Trying to worry about getting to Detroit for my workout. So I said, okay, coach, yeah. Oh yeah, I think about that. And left, right? Like, yeah, whatever, coach. And I got to Detroit, and I had to go work out, but they didn't sign me. Okay? So, of course, my dream was to become a football player, professional football player. And I was pretty much on my way. Top ranking, number 6 corner in the nation, All-American status, all-league, all that good stuff. So when the Detroit workout didn't work out as best as I thought it would. So, went to our friend's house, and I forget this gentleman's name, but we were on our way to Toledo. Detroit and Toledo are like, 40 minutes away, something like that. So I was going back to Toledo, going back to Cleveland. Again, I graduated on that Sunday. So on that Monday, I had my workout. Didn't go as planned. And I was on my way back to Toledo from Detroit. And the whole way, I was listening to one song. It was Outkast. It was on their first album, Southern Playlistic, Cadillac Music. The song was called Funky Ride, and it's an instrumental. So if you check it out. It's called Funky Ride. All right? And let me take you on a funky ride all around the world. If you let me dig inside your mind and feel your feelings fly, something like that, right? And at the time, I was under the influence because I was pretty distraught about my workout, and my friend had a marijuana joint, so I hit it. And we took a ride. I was by myself. He was in his car, and I played his music. And I played his music over and over. I listened to the same song like the whole ride. I don't know if I'm going to be right, right? And the whole time I was thinking, I have to get to Columbus. Because Columbus, outside of Columbus, was a training facility called Accelerate Ohio. Because I tore my knee up my junior year, going into my senior year in the spring. And that's pretty much derailed my dream. Rehab and got back on the field and still played my 5th year. I was a starter my first year in college as a true freshman. So I knew I had to go back and get my training together so I could get my speed together, and boom, I'd be in the league. So I thought on that ride, how can I get to Columbus? So when I got to Cleveland, back to Cleveland on that Tuesday, I was thinking, how can I get to Columbus? So I was calling people, ended up getting in touch with my stepmother. She had a cousin in Columbus. All right. one of them was celebrating his son's birthday, and the other one was just riding. These were my high school classmates, teammates, friends for a long time. And I'm riding in the back seat, and they're in the front seat, and we riding the hood, celebrating and doing what we do in the hood. And it was a dope Queen's car that we was in. All right, now mind you, I graduated from college that Sunday. All right, this is Tuesday. So I'm riding this car in the hood, doing our thing, and I'm looking at the buildings. And I'm looking at the grass, and I'm looking at the paper, and I see the broke windows, and I see the bottles, and I'm just looking through buildings, and I'm seeing people walking on the street looking like they're comatose, like zombies to me, as I'm riding in this car. And I'm like, wow. And I don't tell them what I'm thinking or what I'm going through at the moment, but I likened it to God talking to me, right? So I'm saying, wow, I can't come back to this. So we go over to my partner's house and get into a conversation with a young lady. Her name is Kim Morris. She graduated a few years before I did, and I really never had a conversation with her. I knew her, but never really had a conversation. So I'm talking to her outside on the sidewalk, and I tell her about my plans. I'm going to get to Columbus. I'm going to come home and get a job, and I'm going to save some money, get this money together so I can get down here to Columbus, give me a spot, and get into the training facility, and make it happen. And she told me something in 1995 that, of course, I will never forget, and it's part of the reason why I'm here. As I'm telling her about my plan, how I'm trying to get my money together, right? We are trying to get our money together, right? So, trying to get my money together, and she said, Vance, I wouldn't even let money stop. I'd just go. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, wow. Okay. The thought in my head. Had another conversation that night with someone else. Kind of the same thing. So now I'm in overdrive. To get to Columbus. So I got in touch with my stepmother. Got in touch with her cousin. She never met me, I never met her. But she was moving out of her apartment in 2 weeks. So I figured, well, I'll go down here, give me a job, give me some money, give me a spot to live. Right, in 2 weeks. Okay? That's what I thought. But see, my drive and commitment was so strong for my dream that I thought that made sense. So I went down there. Before I went down there, I got a map of Columbus. I had a duffel bag, toiletries, free clothes, an interview outfit, and $100, I think, to my name, my car, and my dream. And I left. Got to Columbus. Met Tina. And told her what the deal was. Every night, I would look at she had a newspaper for me when I got there. So every night, I would look at the newspaper, see in the one ads, and see what jobs I wanted to apply for. I would look at the map and see where they were in Columbus. And then I would write out how I would get to the jobs so I can maximize my time every day. So I did that every night. So along the way, I would steal gas. So back in the day, you pump $5, and $5 was like, you brag with $5, right? So I would pump 5, put the gas back up, go in the store, so let me get 5 on that pump. Right, that was how it would look. Like, didn't you just pump gas out there? Wasn't me. So they ring it up. So I would double my gas. All right, so for every 5, I'm getting 10. All right, we had a grocery store called Big Bear. Now we get a meat and 2 sides. I think it was like maybe $2.50, something like that. And I said, well, that's right. For those 2 weeks. Now, 2 weeks came and went. I remember being in my grandmother's living room and on the phone, called Tina. I said, Tina, if there's anybody that put me up, I'll pay me. All right. So her friend, Angie, I said, he can stay with us. Angie had just met me when I was at Tina's job. Probably one time. Us is Angie, her daughter Tiffany. Tiffany was about 6 years old at the time. I was 23. So she allowed a man who she never met, didn't know, her friend Rick didn't even know, to live with her and her 6-year-old daughter. A black man. She was black too, but not black. You know, right?
She's not black.
And she did it. Right? I was in my grandmother's spot. I'm telling her anybody. Because I didn't have anybody else. And I couldn't come back to Cleveland. Not St. Clair. Not 117. Alright? Because it looked like this. So, went down, Angie, let me stay there. And I stayed in Tiffany's bedroom. Because Tiffany stayed in there with her mother. And Tiffany had a little mermaid bunk bed, sheets, comforter, fish tank, dolls, everything, Little Mermaid, like, and that was my bedroom for the summer of 1995. That was my bedroom after being a college graduate. So, during this time I was with Angie and Tiffany, got me a job, right? First job I got out of high school, out of college graduate, was unloading trucks at Sears Distribution Center. I would go into trucks, 18-wheelers, have a little rack, put the boxes on the rack, code the boxes, keep it moving. Work like one check I had like over 20-something hours of overtime. At the time I didn't know what taxes was about. So working all that overtime, it just took it in taxes. I didn't even get it, right? I was mad. Didn't know it. Never did it again, ever since that day. Ever worked 20 hours overtime. But I remember one night, old white guy, because I'm working overtime and they didn't have to ask me. And old white gentleman stepped to me. He said, "Why are you here?" I was like, "What you mean?" He said, "You too smart to be here. Why are you here?" I said, "I'm just trying to make some money out of that." He was like, "You better than this." You know? But that's what he wanted to say that to me. You better than this. Right? So, during that time, I moved my children and they mother down. And that was a episode in itself. My daughters I had twin daughters. I have twin daughters. They were 6 at the time. So moved them in and kept them moving. From there, they ended up going back to Cleveland because that situation was very volatile. And much of the stuff that I'm speaking to is actually in the book, but it was a situation where, looking back on it, okay, she was damaged before I met her, but I damaged her. So coming to another city with children and not knowing nobody was pretty fearful, all right, already. And then here it is, the one that, got you down here is still doing his thing. So it didn't add up for success in that situation, so they had to go back. And I stayed, and my first apartment, well, my only apartment after leaving that situation was much like you ever seen them old movies and with the Highway 66, old motels, right? Where the rooms, the doors are on the outside, and there's floor here, kind of like what's the movie where Jody. Jody. Baby boy, right. You see a little spot where, okay, it was worse than that. Right, it was worse than that, but I was kind of 2 levels, but it was only one building. Right? You had to get to my parking lot through an alley. So I had to go through an alley and then come to the parking lot. And the building was green, so it looked like the dirt and the grass and everything. And I had a blow-up bed, a cardboard mattress. I'm sorry, a cardboard nightstand. All right, I think I had a love seat and a TV, and that was it. And that was my apartment for the summer of '96. So that second year I was there, and I ended up actually leaving that and going back to Coppin State University for graduate school. It was 2 years, almost 2 years to the day that I left, that I went back for graduate school. The reason I went back for graduate school is because I was working at Warner Cable, and I was a cable guy, but I was working for a subdivision, so our job was to get the new cable boxes. This is when Music Choice first came out. You get music on the TV. This is when that first came out, right? Long time ago, okay? I feel old now. Long time ago. So we used to go into the house. I used to, go into the house. We have our, little chart and go pick our boxes up and go in the homes. And I would go into the richer homes, the most richest homes, of course, all across Columbus. Because everyone who had Time Warner Cable had to get new boxes. So it don't matter what part of town you're going to be in, they need a new box. Get them a new box. Teach them how to work the remote and be out. If you get them to do the Music Choice and the, I think it was Stars just came out. If you get them to do that a month free, and you get like a little commission sales, right? But you're supposed to ask, hey, would you like Music Choice? Would you like to take a free movie? Yeah. Well, I just give it to them. Sign them up. But I would, and then this is what I learned. When they tell you it's free for a month, it is. But it's the catch. And always ask, do I have to call and tell you to turn it off? Because you do. So that's how they get you. That first month is free, and then you don't say turn it off. You liked it, I'll pay for it, right? So I learned that from that job. That was one thing I learned from that job. But another thing that I learned from that job, that's really the most important thing that I ever really could learn. Again, I went to the richest homes and the poorest homes. There were one thing that was consistent about the richest homes, and there was one thing consistent about the poorest homes. I'm talking about every last time. Where it couldn't be ignored. If you paid attention, you couldn't ignore it. The most richest homes, poorest homes. What do you think was consistent about these and about these?
Poorest homes had a TV in every room.
Okay, all right. Anyone else? Nothing was good. Oh, good try. That's right. Okay, all right. Good memory. See, that's a senior. She's thinking. No, this was consistent. In the richest homes, all they had was and all they cared about was a minimal amount of challenge. That's all they wanted to know where it was. When you teach them how to work the remote. I don't need none of that. Where is such and such, how to do? That's it. No movie channels, no music, no nothing. Basic cable. CNN, your music, your movies, your news, your educational channels. All right, here's you got all those educational type channels. All right, consistent. In your poorest homes,
ET, MTV,
everything.
did this.
Now y'all not hearing me. They had everything. They had all the extra stuff. It was consistent to the point where it was shameful. Because that has to be systematic in one's thinking. Because it was undeniable. So even to this day, I have never had movie channels on my cable, ever. To this day, I have never had anything extra on cable. Never. 42 years old. Principal of Patterson High School. I'm a six-figure man. And I own property. Alright? I don't have nothing but basic cable. Because that taught me. Now, one other thing that I had to understand through that episode. When I went to Columbus, I went with my dream. Okay? That was the driving force, was my dream. Because in mythological tales, there's a character called a Percival. Okay? A Percival is a fool. Right? But if you really look into it and dig beneath the surface, Percival is really wise. Because I was a fool to think in 2 weeks I could find me a job, get some money, and get my own spot. In 2 weeks? Like, that's crazy, right? But I couldn't see nothing else. I couldn't see nothing else. Like, either it was that or destruction. So I'll take that. And that's what's going to happen. And again, this was as a college graduate. Right? So as a college graduate, it didn't get better. It got worse. So it was great. So it's a process. After you leaving Columbus, you guys went back to Kent for graduate school. Now, in this part, you're dealing with fear. You're dealing with the unknowing. You're dealing with, can I really do this grad school thing? I was in a master's program that was accelerated, so I started school, we started our program 25 cohort, and we started doing the intercession, so it would be 2 weeks after, when school ends, before summer one begins. All right, so that little time between, we had 2 weeks for 2 of our classes doing the intercession. 2 weeks, and each class was 15 weeks worth of work. Just because you get in 2 weeks, don't mean you're getting it easy. You're just getting it all in these 2 weeks, right? I didn't think about it. Because if I thought about it too much, who's going to do that? Right? Like, who's going to do that? So, the syllabus. Didn't even really read, to this day, don't really read syllabi all the way through. Because it is overwhelming. Because the only thing that's due is this one. I did that one. The only thing that's due is this one. I do that one. Before I knew it, I'm moving, right? But this is the catch. That first Friday, after we started, and they let you know, like, not only what we saying, okay, this is the stuff that's due when we see you Monday. Both classes. So that Friday, we didn't have class on Friday. That Friday, fresh back in graduate school, I lived in a group home. So I rented a room in that house. The guys that were my housemates, I don't even know who they are. They could be sitting right out there right now. I wouldn't even know who they were. Maybe if they shed their hair, I probably would recognize them. I saw enough of that. But them, I don't really realize. That tore me up. And in my room, I had a blow-up bed, that cardboard mattress, not my cell phone, my cordless phone, and a picture of my daughters.
Excuse me, I didn't even want to lose coffee.
And a picture of my daughters, the 8x10 of them, and that was my inspiration. So every day I got up, saw that picture of them, and then motivated me. So that Friday, I went to the public library, and as a former athlete, a student athlete at Kent State, academics wasn't a big time goal. All I cared about my freshman year was getting off of study table, because between 7 and 9, that's when all the good TV shows came on. Cosby Show, Cheers, all that good stuff came on. So I wanted to get off study table. Well, how you get off study table? You gotta have a 2.5. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna get a 2.5. All right. Then I found out, well, my major, you need 2.5 for your major. Cool. I just keep 2.5, right? Got off study table. And every year, every semester, I would look at my schedule and figure out what grade I could get in each class, so I can maximize my efforts and not, overextend myself, right? So I can get an A in football. Got that. Got ready. Got an A in football, and then classes here, I know I can just balance it out. And graduated in that manner. Mind you, I took AP courses as a high school student, so it really wasn't my issue. My issue was my drink. So when I got back to graduate school that Friday, I spent 8 hours straight in that library. 8 hours straight. I didn't know I was going to be there that long. That wasn't my thought or intent. I knew I had things to do. And I spent 8 hours straight in that library that first Friday when I went back to grad school. And that day told me, I'm good. I'm good. I learned that day, I may be in grad school, and they say it's a lot more demanding, your work is what I figured out. When you're in elementary, you do elementary work. When you're in middle school, you do middle school work. You're in high school now, you do high school work. Man, I'm going to college. You do college work. Grad school is grad work. So whatever level you're on, that's the level of work you're doing. So it didn't matter to me about grad school or this and that or these people. It didn't matter. I knew within myself what I was going to accomplish. And along the way, I met a professor, Dr. Heflin, black professor, black male. Only black male professor that I had in my graduate program, maybe only one of 3 total, I think. My whole educational career, college, undergrad, grad. Dr. Heflin was an intimidating man with his intellect. And I've never seen that before, not in a black man. And I remember sitting in the room, summer morning, and we already had one class. I got my head down on the front row, just so happened. He's coming in. First thing I think was cool, brother. He was an older gentleman too, and he was walking. He was like, he wasn't playing, right? Coming in, I was like, cool, brother. He walked in the door, started writing and teaching. Started teaching. So then what happened with us? We ain't gonna know. We scrambling, all right, trying to get stuff out to take notes, right? You think we gonna chill, you talking a little bit, you know, get to know. Nah, he came in. All right, we're gonna take a little 2-minute break. And then we'll da-da-da. So before, no, that's what he said. So I asked him, I said, we never got your name. He said, we'll talk about that when you come back. Right? Came back, Dr. John helped him, blah, blah, blah. PhD from Stanford University, blah, 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 blah. Every day we had to bring in an article about education and society. Some education related to society. Everybody, every day. You didn't know if he was going to pick you or not, but just be ready. Okay? Every day he did this. And every day he would call on someone, several people, to tell about their article. If he hadn't read it himself, he could expound on it. And that blew my mind. If he hadn't read it himself, well, most times he had actually read the article that any one of us could have brought in. Most times he had read that. If he hadn't, he could expound on it. And I never came across that. I was a black man. I said, wow. He was intimidating with his intellect. So one day I went to his office hours because he was pretty demanding too. And when I went to his office hours, he was cooler than a fan. He was cool. He had actually known me from playing ball in my undergrad. But he didn't get that impression. But when I talked to him, he was cool. To the point where I'm telling my other classmates, my other black sisters, there was only 3 of them and me. And then the other 2 or so, Caucasian. Only black male. And during his lessons, only teacher this had ever happened to me. But during his lessons, he used to send me messages. Like, he used to talk to me during his lessons. He would say things that he was really saying to me, but talking to everybody. And I would hear it. Just, you know, sometimes I would look back like, you know, did y'all hear that? They looked, and all my white classmates sat in the back because they were so intimidated by him. They wanted to get as far away from him as they could. Okay? Dr. Heaven gave me a B that semester. I'm sorry, that summer. The only class I got a B in. And I wasn't even mad. Because he taught me more than the grade could ever do. Last thing he taught me, I saw him after my class in a restaurant. And I go in. Hey, Dr. Heaven, how you doing? He in a booth with some white folks, right? He was talking. I'm walking by. Hey, Doc, how you doing? Hey, man, how you doing? I said, Doc, how you doing? He's all, man, hey, man, these white folks, boy, I tell you,